Our movie today begins with someone telling his story, saying, "I was 25 years old when this disaster happened." Suddenly, the color of the sky changed, and everyone started to panic. No one understood exactly what was going on. The first thing scientists thought of was that this could be a comet or an asteroid, which is obviously very concerning and could pose a danger to planet Earth. Scientists begin talking about orbits, gravity, and collision speed, and the situation gets completely out of control. Strangely, we remained in this situation for 5 years, with this thing getting closer and closer to the planet every moment. Everyone is afraid, terrified, and waiting for the decisive moment when everything will change forever. Of course, each scientist has a different theory and opinion from the others, and there is absolutely nothing they agreed on. Even governments are unable to control the people's fear or calm them down by any means, yet life moves on. Giant creatures emerge from it and spread across the entire world with lightning speed. Within a few minutes, we saw an entire army of giants right before us. Many people die out of sheer fear. Governments try to face these monsters and get rid of them by all means, using all the heavy weapons available in the world, but unfortunately, nothing works. The situation gets worse and worse every moment, and they are left with no choice but to use nuclear weapons, knowing well that this will cause immense casualties that no one could ever predict. Ruin spreads everywhere in the world, and a massive part of it is destroyed. Despite all of this, the giants are not affected at all, and no one loses but us, to the point that entire civilizations disappeared because of the explosions. The rest of us lived at the mercy of the monsters, and our entire lives remained hanging in the balance forever. We stayed in this situation for more than 50 years, and absolutely nothing changed. The remaining humans go to live in remote mountains among caves and darkness to protect themselves from any danger around them. They are terrified of the idea that these creatures might reach their location and wipe them out at any moment, and their lives are constantly threatened. Of course, with all of this, life becomes primitive again. All the technology in the world completely disappears, and life becomes simple beyond anyone's imagination. Civilizations no longer exist because the survivors were thinking about only one thing: protecting their lives from death by any means, having no other goal in life after what happened. We choose the peak of a very high mountain and build a small village on it, calling it a village, trying as hard as we can to start a new beginning far from everything happening around us, and trying to adapt to this new situation to feel a bit of safety since we are very far from the whole world. The mountain's height is about 200 meters, and we chose this spot specifically because of an attempt to verify that the monsters cannot climb to any high place and do not like to exert effort. For them to reach our location would be almost impossible. Even their movement is very slow, which was the thing that comforted us the most and made us feel like we were living in peace. 32 people live in this village, and everyone builds a wooden hut to be their home. We use wood and stone to make anything we want, light a fire to stay warm, and live a very simple and quiet life as much as possible. We see that we must start from scratch and try to act as if we are in a normal life where nothing can stress or upset us again. Everything goes perfectly smoothly. One day, all the villagers go to sleep at the same time as usual, and unfortunately, no one notices the monster approaching them. A person named Kyle wakes up startled because he feels the whole place shaking beneath him. Terrified, he rushes outside quickly to understand what is happening. When he goes up to the watchtower, he discovers a shocking sight. One of the giants managed to climb the mountain, which is obviously very strange. He moves much faster than the rest of the monsters and is heading directly toward our village. Of course, all the villagers learn the news and gather in front of the gate, everyone with a child trying to protect them from what is coming. Mothers are terrified when they feel that the danger has returned, and panic spreads everywhere. Each of the men goes to grab a weapon, and they begin preparing for an attack. Kyle speaks with Sierra, telling her that the giant is very close to the village, and it's only a matter of time, seeing that they must prepare to escape from this place at the right moment. Unfortunately, no one has any solution except to wait, all sitting on edge, hoping the giant will change his direction and move away from this village at the last moment. Shortly after, they make sure there is no escape from the situation because he has already spotted the village and is actually coming for it, and none of them will be able to get out of here again. They feel that this is finally the end. Kyle shows them another exit, but it is very dangerous because it leads to a narrow cliff, putting all their lives at risk, and no one will be able to cross it easily. Since there is absolutely no time and the monster is already closing in on them, they had to choose. In an instant, it reaches the village and begins destroying everything it passes over. People try to flee in every direction, each attempting to save their life from death by any means. Kyle tries to calm them down as much as possible, asking them to cooperate with each other to get out of here safely. They are forced to take the difficult path ahead of them, and unfortunately, some of them die at the hands of this terrifying creature. The village itself gets completely destroyed in the end, to the point that a large part of the mountain collapses before their eyes because of the giant. A little later, Sierra manages to reach the base of the mountain and helps everyone around her as much as she can. We see a group of survivors who manage to save themselves from this destruction, including Ash and Marcus. Along with a few weak individuals, they manage to help until they reached a safe place. They stay in this situation for a few hours until they confirm for themselves that the giant has finally left and gone in a direction completely far from them. So they decide to climb the mountain again, which is very difficult for them because debris is everywhere around them, and they exert a huge effort to do so. They see the village they worked so hard to build turned into mere ruins in seconds, with nothing left of it. Sierra walks completely silent, deeply affected by everything that happened, feeling a profound heartbreak inside. Ash throws himself to the ground, holding a wooden toy, and keeps weeping for the child who died because he was very close to him. At that time, I sat on a large rock and kept watching the destruction around me, and I was literally exhausted psychologically because I had gone through this exact situation before, 50 years ago, when the whole earth was destroyed. Sierra finds Kyle's body lying on the ground and is completely shocked, weeping over him for a long time. It was a very difficult night for everyone, full of sorrow and tragedies. After we rested a bit, we decided to bury all the bodies. Sierra insists on going to look for the northern walls, because Kyle had assured her that they are in a safe place. Zamb insists on going with her, and this will take them at least 10 days of travel through the heart of the dead forest, which is a very dangerous place. After long thought, Ash and I decided to go with them. I wanted to do anything to help them before I die, since I am old and have no one else in the world but them. Ash is thinking about how to avenge his family's death and is ready to do anything in exchange for achieving this. The rest of the survivors with us decide to stay in their place and try to start over from scratch. Sierra promises them that if she finds the safe place she is looking for, she will come back for them and that she will never abandon them. We agree to move from the village tomorrow at dawn. Even though we are all exhausted, no one could sleep all night from overthinking. We keep looking at the sky and talking about the future, and Sierra hopes the plan goes well and she reaches her goal in the end. As soon as dawn begins, the four of us stand up and prepare to start the journey. We look at what is left of our village with deep heartbreak and sadness, bidding farewell to our loved ones who are in graves beneath the dirt. In the end, Sierra takes us and we move. Everything becomes gray from the sheer amount of destruction. The sky's color is pale and terrifying, and nothing appears around us except the red glow coming from that strange asteroid. Sierra keeps encouraging us all the time, trying to motivate us to keep going by any means. She insists that we walk through a coastal area near the city before entering the deadly forest, after which we are supposed to reach the location of the northern walls. We keep walking for a very long time until we reach a certain spot and begin to feel danger around us. Sierra advises us not to make any sound at all so no one notices our presence, fearing that the giants might be close to us and could appear at any time. After that, we reach a very long road and keep walking along it without a single word. Sierra starts giving us some advice so we know how to act if anything goes wrong. Everything goes fine until suddenly we hear a strange sound approaching us. At that moment, we are all terrified. The sound keeps getting closer and closer, sounding like thunder, its power gradually increasing in a terrifying way. Indeed, a few minutes later, Sierra discovers that a huge number of monsters are heading toward us. She keeps screaming and asking us to run fast. We start running like crazy out of sheer fear, trying to hide in any safe spot. The situation is extremely difficult for us, and we feel that this might be the end, until we find a building ahead of us and decide to hide inside. We keep going up very quickly until we reach the roof, trying to outrun the coming storm hitting us. Indeed, it starts destroying the building too, and a very large part of it collapses. We stand waiting for our fate since we cannot escape anywhere else right now. Sierra tries to keep us always together, staying behind us step by step, fearing for us greatly. She acts with complete bravery, and we reach the roof miraculously after immense fatigue and effort, just as we completely lost all our strength and patience. At that moment, we saw the entire country destroyed before our eyes because of the monsters. Sierra collapses to the ground from exhaustion and frustration, feeling that all our effort was wasted in vain, and feeling that she dragged us and herself into an illusion that doesn't exist. Since there was no time for thinking or grieving, we had to pull ourselves together and try to figure out how to act. At that exact moment, a massive monster appears before us, emerging from under the water, about 80 meters tall. It keeps moving toward the building, making terrifying and incredibly loud sounds that echo everywhere. We try to hide from it and run inside quickly without thinking, none of us making a single sound. We try to act completely calm to protect our lives from death. A little later, the giant turns to the other side with his back to the entire building. We return to the roof again and keep watching the road for a long time, discussing things, and indeed we manage to do so. We all gather around the fire and rest a bit after the grueling day we went through. No one wanted to sleep out of sheer fear until I tried to reassure them, confirming that we were safe, letting them sleep while I stayed up guarding them all night so they would feel secure. At that time, I was thinking about my life, which flashed before my eyes while I was in this exact situation, and how I spent 50 years living in torment, doing absolutely nothing for myself, not even starting a family. When I focused on the 3 young people sleeping in front of us, I saw that this might be the only reason I am still alive until now. Maybe I can be useful to them, make them happy, and protect them like my own children. Unfortunately, I remembered the day the disaster began for the whole world, and I hadn't forgotten a single detail of it, as if it had just happened a moment ago. I started seeing hallucinations and illusions all night long until I fell asleep against my will. I woke up to their voices trying to wake me up. I was very tense and took some time to return to my normal self and calm down. We all went back to the roof to see how the road looked and monitor the situation well. To our good fortune, the monsters had disappeared from around us, with absolutely no trace of them left. Even the water had disappeared too, and the situation became much safer than yesterday. We understand that the sea was what brought the giants along with it to this place, and we thank God that we are still alive until now. Of course, we were all going to die from the lack of food, so we kept thinking of any way to eat so we could continue our journey to the end. The only thing that comes to our minds is to catch fish from the water. Maybe we can actually find something to catch, hoping nature still preserved something and the giants hadn't affected the sea too. Indeed, they let me rest for a bit in my place and went to try in more than one spot. Thank God, they managed to catch a very large fish, exerting a huge effort to do so. They feel relieved that we will finally eat after all the fatigue we went through. They bring the fish and return with it to the building, cook it right away, gather around the fire, and begin to eat and enjoy themselves a bit. A few hours later, we get ready and stand up to continue on our way, hoping to reach the safe place we are looking for because this specific place is impossible for the monsters to reach no matter what happens. A few hours later, we reached the forest again and found military gear scattered everywhere on the ground. We realized that this was a camp belonging to the army, so we gather all the items that could benefit us later, take some weapons, and continue on our way. We talk a bit on the road, each sharing his feelings and the things he hopes to achieve in the new place. After a very long distance, we finally find fresh water to drink from. We run toward it quickly, throw ourselves onto the ground, and drink in huge quantities out of the extreme thirst we were in. We wash our faces and hands very well and fill all the bottles we have so we have some water for the road. Before we can even rest, we start hearing a terrifying sound approaching us. We run quickly to hide among the rocks because we understand that the monsters are around us. Unfortunately, a weak animal tries to escape from the monster chasing it everywhere like crazy, determined to catch it by any means. None of us was able to help the animal because we knew for certain that we would surely die with it. Finally, the situation passes safely by a miracle, and the monster doesn't notice our presence at all until it disappears from before us. We understand that this place is not safe, and we must change the route we will take as quickly as possible. Since I know this road very well, I was able to benefit them with my experience and take them to another shortcut. We kept walking for a very long distance until we got tired and night began to fall on us. We reach a somewhat safe and quiet place and decide to rest there until morning. We see that the railway tunnel is the most suitable place to sleep comfortably. We cross it first to the other side to make sure. Everything that happened in the past and how we even reached this situation. In the end, they all fall asleep from extreme exhaustion, and thank God, the night passes safely without any problems or any danger. We wake up from sleep very early and decide to continue on our way again so as not to waste any more time. Of course, we started getting used to the danger and fear inside us, and our hearts became much stronger than before. A few hours later, we started hearing very loud sounds coming from afar, to the extent that the ground was shaking beneath us. Naturally, without any thinking, we understood the danger coming toward us, and we run quickly like crazy until we reached an old train parked on the side. We decide to hide under it, and we started seeing them coming toward us in very large numbers. Luckily for us, no one notices us, as if they are walking as a herd together going to another place. The situation is extremely difficult for us. Our hearts are beating hard, and we are afraid someone might see us and eliminate us after all this. We stayed in this position for a while until we made sure they were completely far from us and that we were finally safe. We start thinking together, do these monsters have any weaknesses or not? Surely there is something that can eliminate them and affect them. Since I am the oldest among them, they wanted to know my opinion on something like this. I started telling them that the army tried every weapon they could think of in the past, but unfortunately, nothing was useful, nor could they stop the monsters. Even if they managed to get rid of some, a much larger number would descend, and no one would be able to get rid of them forever. When the army used nuclear weapons, it was the people who suffered, and the world too, and things ruptured. We kept walking for a few more hours until we reached a small village. When we entered inside the town, it was, of course, completely destroyed, with absolutely no signs of life at all. We kept searching everywhere in the town to fill water and gather a few useful things. Suddenly, right in the middle of the road, we were shocked to see one of the monsters sitting in a very strange way without making any movement at all. It was completely silent, with no sound coming out of it. Out of sheer fear, we decide to go inside and hide in the house in front of us quickly until we see how we will act. We tried to catch our breath and calm down so we could think of a solution. A little later, Sierra goes outside to check the situation and is shocked that it is still sitting in its place in the exact same way without moving. She feels that it isn't even aware of anything around it at all, so she insists on going out to check for herself so we don't stay trapped here forever. Indeed, it turned out to be petrified and turned to stone, not seeing us at all and not even feeling us. We kept moving around it for a long time without it being affected at all, and none of us could comprehend that this was real. We started thinking, when did this happen and how? Surely there is something important we need to know. While we were talking to each other about what happened, we started hearing a sound around us. We run to hide quickly out of sheer fear inside one of the buildings. Unfortunately, this time is different from every other time because it appears that the creature managed to pinpoint our location from our body odor. It started looking for us like crazy, making terrifying sounds everywhere. Strangely, as soon as it sees its reflection in the mirror, it starts screaming in a horrific way, its body moving and shaking violently. A few minutes later, it turns into stone, exactly like the other creature. None of us could comprehend what was happening, and for the first time, we started to feel that there is hope, that we could get rid of all these creatures, return to our normal life again, and live in peace. They are all surprised that I also have no idea how this happens, seeing it today for the exact first time just like them. The three of them rejoice, feeling that this is finally a new beginning and the nightmare will disappear very soon. Sierra goes back to the building, takes a large mirror, puts it in her backpack, and starts gathering all the mirrors, since this is the only hope and weapon that works against them. A few hours later, while we were walking, a massive monster appears before us. This time, it attacks us with absolute violence, completely enraged, and begins breaking everything in front of it to reach us. We run to hide quickly inside the building. At that exact moment, Sierra is afraid to take a risk and use the mirror because it might not work and would expose her life to danger for nothing. In the end, she gathers all her courage, takes the mirror, and faces the monster alone. Indeed, the monster is deeply affected and starts screaming in immense pain until it collapses to the ground and turns to stone just like the others. And up to here, the events of our story today come to an end. Wait for me in new videos and recaps. Goodbye.